I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. 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 Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed. Healed up. Up. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I must have this track on repeat. Repeat. Oh, you hear that? You hear that? Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it down. Oh, let's break it. Break it. Break it. Break it down. Let's drop the beat. Beat. Let's get you healed up. Let's get you healed up. Healed up. Yeah. Healed. Healed up. Up. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah. Let's move it, people. Yeah, let's pick it up. Lucio coming at you. Coming at you. Yeah, time to heal up. Oh, turn it up. Up. Turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up in my headphones. My headphones. Turn it up in my headphones. Audio medic. Audio medic. Audio medic. Move to the beat. Boost. Oh, this is my jam. Time to accelerate. Alright, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of Off the Wall, powered by CGL Console Gaming League. It's your boy, Dazzle167, your one and only host once again, and I am here with the one and only Calyko. How are you doing, brother?
I'm pretty good. Kind of tired, per usual.
Nice. Tired of hacking all these people, I bet.
Yeah, especially that one Chris chick. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I heard she likes to solo shatter Lucio's, which is a huge heartbreak for me.
Big weird.
So listen, let's start the show the way we normally do. Tell us about your peak, right? Career high, SR, all of that stuff. Let's listen to it.
I'm a 4653 Sombra peak. I've been 4630 on a Doomfist account. Finished top 10, I think, 2 seasons. That's about it. I've hit like 4400 plus on a bunch of different accounts, like my Sim one and my Torb one, which I love to flex.
Nice. Cool. Well, listen, let's go back. Let's go way back to the beginning. Like we usually do. Let's go talk about your origin story. So, as far as gaming goes, what were some of the first video games that you played?
Oh, I swept kids in Minecraft Hunger Games. Like
that's a weird flex. Okay.
Oh, after that, it was Destiny, and then Overwatch.
Right.
Didn't really play a lot of games before that. Maybe Halo at sleepovers and stuff, but that was it.
Right. Actually is surprising to me because I feel like a lot of people who come into Overwatch, they either come from like a very strategic gaming background or they've been gaming for a while, or they come from like a sweaty FPS like Call of Duty or Halo and stuff like that. And you didn't, right? Like you just, I mean, you flexed Minecraft.
Yeah.
Who does that, right? So
well, I mean, obviously, like what?
Right. So like that's kind of impressive to me, considering like your gaming background isn't as vast as other people, especially in your position, people who are in top 500, people who are doing all that stuff. So that's definitely weird. But let me ask you this: what got you into Overwatch? Because I think Overwatch is one of those games that's kind of unique in the sense that like it takes strategy and it also has like an FPS to it. So what got you into it?
So when I was like 13 or 14, my older brother, he bought Overwatch on his Xbox. And when it first came out, so I played Sim and Quick Play, and I was so good. Okay, I was so fucking good. And then I kind of forgot about the game for a few seasons, and then I picked it back up and played Widow.
Right. And that was one of your first characters was Widow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then did you have a transition of type of characters that you eventually went to? Because obviously people know you now for your Sombra, but was it transition from Widowmaker to Sombra, or did you stop in between other characters as well? Because you also talked about how you have a Doomfist account as well, and you also have a Torb account. So what other heroes did you transition to play to until you eventually came to Sombra?
Well, on my first account, Trashy Widow 007, I played pretty much just Widow.
Right.
And that's back when I kind of memed most of my games. And when Sombra came out, I was like, this character is perfect for me. She can go invisible. She just makes people's lives 10 times worse. And like, she was just so much fun. So I just like kind of swapped over to her and made my Sombra salt.
Right. I mean that makes sense. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about Sombra herself, right? Because I think she's not only a really good character right now, she's kind of a staple in the meta, right? Even in like the OWL where you see a lot of goats being played, she still is very prevalent. I mean, people who can play Sombra at a high level even in the Overwatch League are regarded as like amazing players, So what do you think makes her so strong as a character right now?
Well, to begin with, I never really noticed the change with more Sombras coming out of nowhere because a lot of people pick Sombra against me just to be like, oh, I played Sombra against Calyko, or like
Right.
whatever they try to win or whatever it be. So I never really noticed the increase in playing, especially on Xbox, but definitely she's very powerful because of her hack ability. So season 9, when I peaked on Sombra, her hack was the same hack after her LOS fix, but the reason it wasn't as powerful was because you only had 6 seconds of invisibility and you had a translocator on a timer, so it was like you had to manage those cooldowns a lot more. But with the new changes, it's so easy to just like sit behind somebody and then come out of invis, hack, TP, and then do it again.
Okay. And obviously Sombra herself came from such a unique background. She was one of the first characters to come out. I mean, obviously Ana was the first one, but Sombra was the second one to come out for Overwatch. And when she came out, a lot of people were playing her as a support character, really, right? I mean, she came out. And
on some maps she was being played. Just
right.
She was very situational back then. So
right.
like on Route 66, First Point, or
Temple of Anubis is another
Temple.
one. Yeah, where I noticed that second point. You hack that bottom, and people were just like, just go farm it real quick, and that's how she was treated a lot. And then she got reworked to the point where she became a different character in the sense that no longer she was being played as a support character. She was being played more as a DPS. So a lot of people will argue that Sombra is overpowered. Do you think that there's something right now that people can do to balance her kit, or do you think she's fine?
Like, what I think she could get nerfed about her, or
both? I mean,
counter her.
Yeah, both, because I feel like she is very powerful and she's very big in the meta. Do you think she's too powerful? Do you think she does need some nerfs?
I think she is really powerful right now. I would actually encourage a nerf. I've been wanting a nerf since season 10, I think, after the Brig changes, because when Brig first came out, she was so unbelievably good against Sombra that you could not do anything. But especially recently, it's like, well, what do you really do against the Sombra? I think they need to fix her hack cast time. They need to make it where her hack comes off of cooldown after the original hack expires. Because right now, if you hack somebody, it starts on cooldown. So it's not really a cooldown. And then they need to decrease her EMP range just a little bit, because I feel like it would make it so much easier as a support, especially Zen or Lucio, to just hide out of the range then.
Right. I know a lot about that myself, especially since, and that's the thing too. I remember back in the day when you were able to get like the big reses as Mercy, and one of the big things to do was to just hide as Mercy and then fly in and get the big five person res. or whatever amount of people you can get up. And, you know, I think we are in a situation where we're kind of like that now, where, you know, I play in a team game and somebody will remind me, hey, Sombra has ult. We know she has ult. So, you know, hide. And, you know, it sucks because there's this dynamic between, okay, there's three people critical. If I don't go and help
Hmm.
them, you know, then they're going to
Then they're
die.
gonna die.
Right,
But
exactly.
if you do, then you're gonna get hacked. And I think
Exactly.
that's the unfortunate part about her range on EMP, because say if you were playing Zen, you could actually play in LOS of the EMP if it got a decreased range, and you could still put that harmony on somebody, still play further back though, and kind of get that damage in instead of fully hiding or trying to
Right.
predict the EMP. Um, I think it's just like it's very problematic when you look at Lucio's beat drop, because he has to do it after. He has no option. You
Right.
can't time it for EMP. If you see her coming out of invis, you can't. You just have to hide. That's all you can do.
Right. And I mean,
And a
I've,
lot of times that doesn't even work, because
yeah.
if the Sombra is good, she's not gonna just EMP like, oh, where's the Lucio, unless she's purposely trying to force out your beat drop, which is something I'll do. I'll EMP a fight because I'm like, oh, Lucio's going to beat drop here anyway. They're already down two people. Like, that's a waste. It's worth that trade. But, like, usually I'll go invis and I'll just look for the Lucio. I'll come out of invis and try to hack him, right? Before I EMP. So either he's like scurrying back to his team, like, oh, I got to get out. And then you EMP, or he's like, oh, well, fuck, I'm dead. So,
Right. Right. And I mean, I think that's the thing too, is like, you know, I have a hard time. I'm not as, I'm not as highly skilled as other Lucio players, but like I know enough where I use it, you know, I use that knowledge of like, oh, well, the EMP is coming through and I hide and stuff like that. But there's only so much that you can do with that, right?
mm-hmm,
And afterwards, smart Sombras will EMP, and then even as a Lucio, I'll come in with a beat drop, but it only delays the inevitable
mm-hmm.
because eventually Sombra,
Your
some
team
really
loses barriers. There's
right.
free alt economy. Like, it just.
Yeah, like even if I do get the beat drop after the EMP, a lot of really good Sombras will come through and still after the EMP hack me individually,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Double
I won't
attack.
be able to
Fucking
heal.
worse.
Right, I won't be able to
Mm-hmm.
heal the people who are critical even after the sound barrier. So it seems like a no-win situation for Lucio, just as much as like, you know, whenever I get hacked as a Lucio, I
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything except for shoot. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just like, well, I'm kind of here. I'm existing, but I'm not doing anything.
right. I do feel like they made it so that the Sombra, like I feel like it's okay to take away my abilities as a Sombra. That makes sense. But like to take away the song
The
itself,
heal, the passive, especially when it
right.
doesn't get rid of a brig heal or anything like that, that's just so annoying. It's because
Right.
it's so inconsistent at that point. It's like, if you hack a Zen while he already has an orb out, it's not going to go away. I
Yeah.
feel like Lucio should be able to keep his passive heals on to like give him a chance.
Right.
Maybe not swap the song like he used to not be able to do, but taking away the heals just kind of makes him flop.
Exactly. And you can't even wall ride. That's the thing too. Like you can't even get on a
It's
wall
so
to run
funny.
away. You can't do anything. Like as soon as I get EMP'd, sometimes I'm just like I might as well just emote because there's
I think
nothing I can
one
do.
of my greatest memories on Ilios was this Lucio desperately trying to like crawl his way out of the well, and I just like looked down at him and I'm like, Yonda, and then I hacked him and he just fucking plummeted. It was so funny.
Yeah, no, that sounds scary.
He worked
Absolutely.
so hard, man.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So, well, let me ask you this, because I think there's a lot of people who still don't understand Sombra. I think they don't
Hmm.
understand like the way it's being played. I know I play, you know, and maybe it's this season in particular, but like this season and maybe last season as well. A lot of people in my elo, which is Masters, they play Sombra, but I feel like they don't know how to play Sombra correctly. Like they'll flex to Sombra
Hmm.
and they won't know how to do things right. What are some of the things that you've seen other Sombras play that you know that you're like, oh, clearly they haven't played Sombra because they're doing this wrong or they're doing this. What are some of the do nots that a lot of people do right now with Sombra that you think could be different?
I think that's a really complex question because one of her greatest do nots do this is the best way to climb an SR. It's
Oh,
it's the easiest way to play the character, and it is the most by far effective way of playing the character. But when you get to it caps out, right? So she has a really low skill floor, but she's a really high skill ceiling.
right.
So if you pick Sombra and you're just hacking off cooldown, even like anybody on the enemy team, you're going to do well. I unbound my primary fire on stream and I only hacked. I had 83 people hacked in one game and we won. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
Like it's and I see a lot of Sombras do this. I look at a lot of people's stats and I see how low their damage is per 10 minutes, how low their EMPs per 10 minutes are, and their hacks are contesting mine because they're just hacking off cooldown.
Right.
And even if it is on a priority target, it's not necessarily the best way to use her at higher ranks because sorry, I have a fucking okay. It's not the best way to use her because there are different situations where Sombra's hack is way more important. So if you get a hack off on a Reinhardt, but you know that the Genji has a blade, it would have been better to save your hack for the Genji while he's blading so he can't get a dash reset. A lot of people will just hack the main tank or the Diva or the Lucio or anything where it's like a priority target, but not in a priority situation.
Right. I
So I think that's the main problem.
and here's the thing too, and this is kind of the reason why I think a lot of people will flex to Sombra, and like you said,
Hmm.
they'll be effective at it because they're kind of like hack bots, right? Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, like they just hack, and they're not good at like aiming or actually hitting targets or being effective with Sombra's weapon per se. And so they'll
Hmm.
just be like they'll just kind of use her as her just for her utility and engage in battles that way. And so it kind of becomes, I feel like you said, has with the lower skill
Hmm.
seal, with the floor, with the low skill floor, which in a lot of ways there's a lot of characters like that. Like I feel like Lucio's one of those characters where he does have a
Hmm.
low skill floor, but he
Yeah,
has a high
for sure.
skill ceiling for sure. The people at the higher ranks can play him a lot better. But um that is definitely a problem for sure because I feel like people can often say, "Yeah, I play Sombra," and when they say that, they don't necessarily mean because they're good at
Hmm.
killing people. They're just good at maybe being a hack
Hacking.
bot. Yeah, right.
And I think the main thing is to remember it's not so there's some people there's like four different play styles on Sombra that I think are really prominent. There's the hack bot, which is the easiest one.
Right.
There's the person that challenges duels on snipers or spawn camping.
Okay.
So they play her more DPS oriented. And then my play style is more like EMP focused. You don't need good aim to play Sombra necessarily, but you don't need to be a hack bot. So
Right.
you can spam at tanks. You can get those priority hacks off in priority situations so that you're actually doing something productive more than just hacking a main tank and making it work in ladder. Um, but what it really comes down to on Sombra, I think, is how big your EMPs are when you're EMPing, and if you can win an entire fight just off your EMP, that is the best thing you can do on Sombra.
Right, because you're trading one
Hmm.
ultimate for what could potentially be a lot of different ones, right?
Hmm.
Even if they try to use something that you're, nullifying, it's insane that one ultimate can just take a whole fight.
Hmm. And
So
on top of that, it's Sombra's ult. If you play it right, you can get it back before every other fight, right? And if you can consistently win those fights just off of your ult, you can secure so many fights without anything else that it's basically a gap filler. So when you're down your alt economy from your team, you use EMP, let everybody else finish up, they get their alts, and you win just off of that one ult. And then everybody else has theirs for the next fight. And you just keep
Yeah.
doing that.
Right. Yeah.
But
Because
you actually have to hit your EMP spell.
right. And I think, but I feel like that's easier in a lot of situations nowadays because, goats is still kind of prevalent.
Hmm.
And they play together as a comp, and I think the
That's why she
only
was so strong against goats, was because she could build it so fast and like
right, but
just
even
hit everybody.
But even with like this other composition that's coming up, which is like the triple DPS and Hammond. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like she's such a counter to Hammond because everything that Hammond does kind of gets nullified once he gets hacked.
So to be honest, she hard fucks Hammond, but I've seen a lot of good Hammond players like Spooster or Zitro, who, and I don't usually struggle with people that I counter. So like Dankus is the only Doomfist I'll struggle with because he doesn't even ask for a pocket, but his team knows instinctively to pocket him with like
Right.
bubbles and all that and keep him up. And then so it's really hard to get a hack off on him. And then he'll focus me. Some
Right.
Hammonds do the same thing where they will like, so if I'm under Gibraltar first point on the bridge, they'll go next to the side and slam down before I can get the hack off. And then I'm knocked up and like I have to translocate. So a lot of Hammonds are, there are some, I guess not a lot, but they're really good at discouraging a good Sombra. But I think if you're inexperienced on Hammond, it's not a good idea.
Right, and I feel like that is really just more prevalent at the highest level of gameplay,
Hmm.
right? Like you said, like there's only a certain amount of people that even if their character is countered by yours, they can still get away with a lot of stuff because
Exactly.
they're just so good at that character. And people know how to play around him and stuff like that. So yeah, like I can totally see that being a thing. Um, and I think Sombra is one of those characters that like you said, regardless of how good you are, there's always going to be somebody out there that, regardless of the countering, they can still survive it.
Hmm.
Right. Okay, so let's move on. We'll come back to Sombra in a little bit. Let's move on to a different topic, and I feel like obviously this is going to be the elephant in the room because I think that there's times, and I've gotten used to this, but like it still kind of bothers me. But there's a lot of times when, because this is a community podcast and everybody
Hmm.
is always welcome, then I always try to look for interesting people regardless of you know their background or what they do on Overwatch. I always get flack about who I have on and why and stuff like that, and I feel like you're definitely one of those players, for sure, especially since like there's times where when I say, "Oh, I have this player next," I know because it'll get retweets and it'll be like, "Oh, this player, blah 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 blah," or like they
Yeah.
people always have something to say about it. And now, just to be clear though, I have always had a an opposite look on people who use MNKs, right? Because I
Hmm.
personally feel like I think it's an advantage given to a player, regardless of how good the player is with or without the MNK, right? I always feel like it's some sort of
Hmm.
advantage. But I want to talk to you about why and how you do it and stuff like that. But do you think let's get this out of the way? Do you think MNK within itself is cheating?
I mean, technically, yes, but it's been happening for so long and so many people have done it that I don't think it's not like an actual physical aimbot.
Right.
And I think a lot of people suck with MNK.
Right.
Like
Yes.
Sci-Fi has a DPS account called Dictator Dead. He can't play DPS with MNK. He's like 3,700 on it.
Right.
But so I think it kind of depends. But I do think the aim assist is kind of insane. I wish they really just had compatible normal MNK with it, which is actually why I got an MNK because I thought it would be like 1-to-1 on PC when I
Right.
first got it. So I was like, because I didn't know anybody that actually MNK'd. I just knew people didn't, and I was like, oh, this is so I could like practice PC stuff, and then well, also pressing E instead of my fucking left analog stick for my translocator is so much better, dude.
Right.
Oh my god. because I
Right.
rebounded, so I could jump and shoot at the same time.
Yeah.
But I had to have my translocator on my left analog stick, and that was really annoying.
And like you mentioned, like I think there is something like Overwatch is one of those games that it inherently is so complicated that I feel like it's kind of like a Mustang engine inside of like a Toyota for console, right? Because I feel like the game is so vast in what you can do that on PC it makes sense, but on a console, like there's only so much buttons you could press on a controller,
Hmm.
right? For me, like I can't jump with Lucio on
Yeah,
A.
it's really weird. It's like you have to rebind everything. You have to
Right.
figure out like, or you play Claw, which is honestly not comfortable for a lot of people.
I can't. I'm too old to learn claw. There's no way I'm learning claw. Like that that's just
I
not for
tried
me.
it for a bit, and it worked on Genji and stuff, but like it felt so like shameful. I don't know, man. I couldn't do it.
Right.
Worse than MKing. If you play Claw, oh my god.
Right. And see like that's the thing. Like yeah, like I bound jumping for all of my characters to
Hmm.
to pressing the left thumbstick because I got to move and jump at the same time with one button, right? But
Hmm. I never
bec-
thought about that. I always did the left trigger.
yeah, and well, for Lucio, I do have left trigger because I feel like with him you jump so much
Hmm.
that like I kind of if I put it on my
Yeah,
left thumbstick, it would just break.
your thumb would be so sore, dude.
Right. But now here's the thing too is that I do have that for other players because for me personally and I've noticed this about other games once I played Overwatch and it became so often that I had to jump
Hmm.
and move my character at the same time. I couldn't do that in a lot of games and I noticed that like a lot of other games you can't really bind your keys the way you can.
Hmm.
So it's a struggle sometimes but like I feel like you said, there's so much that you have to do
And
differently.
if you're playing a character like Pharah or Genji or Hanzo, anybody where you have to like constantly hold down A, if you're not playing Claw, you have to figure out something else and then you have to rebind that button to a different button, and then it's so like awkward and
Right.
gross.
Now here's the question. Going back to the initial question about how MNK like whether you think it's cheating or not. Now I think that I kind of understand where you're coming from because I feel that people who do MNK they don't see it as cheating per se because there's another level of cheating which would be like like if you had an aimbot for example like on PC there's people who have aimbot. I mean we've all seen people who stream see their play of the games of other people and it's clear that they have aimbot, right? But like I think that you're right, there is a level of cheating and I feel like MNK is an obvious what I like to call advantage, right? Because I think there's a clear cut
Hmm.
thing like if you DDoS somebody, that's not only cheating but that's also like illegal.
A federal law, yeah.
Right. So in that case, yeah, that is a level of cheating which is a lot higher than just MNKing. So there is that different type of cheating, but I do feel that
Hmm.
regardless of whether it's cheating or not, it is a certain advantage.
Hmm. I agree.
So
Um,
so so there is, but tell me, I want to know this particularly about you because one of the first things I asked you about it, because I said, hey, listen, this
mhm.
is such a big part of who you are in the community that people know. Okay, like there's a lot of people in the community who do MNK that people are like, does he MNK? I'm not sure, right? But you are one of those people who, yeah, no, you people know that you MNK. So it's part of kind of like you as a person in the community. So, do you think that you know your skill level is beyond your MNK usage?
I do. I was actually 4400 when I controllered back in season 8. I bought my MK season 9. I was actually 4387 or something, but like close enough.
Right. Who's counting?
And that was before her buffs too. So
Right.
when I actually got an MK plus the somber buffs, I only gained about 180 SR total.
Right.
Now, I would say, for me personally, compared to when I controllered, my Widow it's so much easier. It is so much easier. So
Right.
Widow and Snipers and Bastion. I mean, Bastion not really, but like it's kind of weird because back then they didn't have the aim assist ease in option that they do now for controllers.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed when I play on my broken controller once in a while, it's really broken. Like I cannot turn to the right at all.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm constantly walking forward. I turn on the aim assist ease in. I turn it up by like 56 or something. And honestly, the aiming is really not that bad, like at all.
Right. And so then yeah, then that's the question, right? So like you feel like personally your skill level, because here's the other thing, right? A lot of people will say that
Hmm.
it's cheating, blah blah, it's black and white. I do think that personally there is a gray area, right? Because I have played whether knowingly or unknowingly, because there's certain times where I've played with people and they're like, yeah, I am in K, and I'm like, well, I didn't know that until you just told me now, right? Like I didn't real,
Hmm.
I just thought you were just really good. Like I didn't realize, but so there
Hmm.
is that certain level of being an MNK player where you play to, like, it gives you an advantage to a certain degree, especially for aiming mechanic wise. But I don't think Sombra in particular um, benefits from, well, I mean, obviously she benefits from being able to aim better, but I don't think she benefits as much as characters like Widowmaker. And you're not obviously known for your Widowmaker, which you do
Hmm.
play, but you're not known to be that type of person. I've seen you play it a few times, but not like known for it. So
Hmm.
would you say that for what you do, it's more of just, strategizing as a player and all those things, and despite the
So
MNK?
a few things on that. I notice a lot of the time I get shit for MNKing, and like I understand why. Like I don't disagree at all with what they're saying,
Mm-hmm.
but the people that are doing it clearly have never like took the time to realize what I'm saying in a game or the calls I'm making or any of that. They
Right.
just kind of throw away all of the game sets to just UM and K.
Right.
But I mean, I think for Samura right now, MNK doesn't really affect it because, like I said, the easiest way to climb is to turn off your primary fire and just hack.
Right. It would become a hack bot. Yeah.
Exactly. So like that's the thing. You don't really need to aim. And then one of her other play styles is spamming tanks, which is what I do. I'm not known for killing 6 people by myself usually. I'm known for my EMPs
Right.
more than not. So
And yeah. By the way, thank you, Veracity, for the donation of the 100 bits. I appreciate it.
I see you, hopes.
Yeah, and Hopes is also in the chat. He came up with the every other interview that I have that Hopes comes up, he always asks the same question. Except this time, it might actually be valid because he usually asks the same question about show us your Zim, but in this case, we know that you have one. So, but yeah, that's definitely something that
Hey,
we
hopes.
we
Order
talked
me a
about this.
controller.
Yeah, we talked about this beforehand too, about it, because we were like, Hopes is gonna come into chat
Yeah.
and he's gonna ask about to show your sim, and you were like, well, I would, but it's somewhere else. I can't like show it right now, which is funny.
Yeah.
So okay,
I
so
should have
yeah,
brought it down with me.
yeah, yeah, right. We definitely thought that was gonna be it. Hey, okay, so here's the thing. I think this community has the idea that things are, especially on Twitter, right? I feel like
Hmm.
there's a lot of black and white and not a lot of like gray areas, and I think this is one of those gray areas because, you know, and here's why. Here's why. There, even if you MNK, I feel like there is certain levels to where it does appear for you cheating. If you, I know people who play MNK who play Mercy. I don't think
Hmm.
that's that bad, right? If you're a Mercy player and you kind of want to MNK, that's okay. What are you? The worst thing you're gonna do is pull out your pistol and aim better.
During Valk, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Um,
That's about it. But so I do think that there's certain levels. I don't think that MNK should be like the type of thing where if you MNK, you're a horrible human being, right? I don't think that
mhm.
should be it. But I do think that, and this is what brings me to the other question that I have. Um, you know, there's a lot of regards on not only you in ladder, but you stacking with other people who also MNK as well. So do you think that that in itself is even more of an advantage? Because I feel like if you stack with people who also MNK, it kind of doubles the amount of people that have an
Hmm.
advantage.
Do you mean stack or duo? Because I
Well, okay, not
usually just
necessarily stack.
duo.
I meant stack like in a
Yeah.
general term, but like duo or
Okay.
trio or whatever you would do.
Gotcha. So the reason I play with other MNK players in like duos or trios, usually if I trio, it's just me with the Mercy and then another DPS, MNK or not. Um, the reason I do that is because, well, they're my friends, and a lot of the time, if those are the people that I would like to duo with because I actually am close to them and I can have a good time with them and not really worry about the game and just more about my stream
Right.
and having fun. But if I stack, it's usually when people invite me to a stack. I don't really form stacks above
Right.
4 people or anything. Um, or like even 2 people. I usually stick to a duo and they're like, oh, can I get my friend in here? And then they get their friend in there. I usually swap to my Smurf. I don't usually play on my main with that. Soap
Right.
Dropper. X Soap Dropper X. Shout out to my Smurf.
Yes, I have played against it a few times. Well, I played against your main as well too,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember,
And
and this is,
Noxie.
I
Is it
remember,
Noxie?
yeah, I remember the first. I remember the last time that I remember playing against your Smurf, you were duoing with another player who also MNK'd, and it slips my mind who it was, but I remember because I was like, oh, like the two top 500 players that are
Mm-hmm.
in this lobby just happen to be duoing, and they happen to be MNKing as well.
Yeah,
So
is
like,
that was it a soldier player?
I don't remember. I don't remember the
Okay.
name, but I remember that's what it was. I was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. And then I remember afterwards on Twitter, I remember how like jokingly I was like, you stole some SR from me. Like I was like you took it away from me, and you were like, don't worry, you'll get it back. And in my mind, the first thing I thought was like, well, that's kind of like getting robbed at gunpoint, and then the guy is saying, don't worry, you'll make your money back. You're going to work tomorrow, right? All right, that's cool. And then you just leave. Like so
Yeah.
I kind of get like where people come from it, right? Because
Hmm.
when you do lose to it, when you lose to it to the point where you feel like, oh, I lost to an MNK, like I feel like I've been cheated out of the SR that I could have gained had that not happened. But obviously in my particular case for that game, it also had a lot to do with matchmaking, because at the time I was, well, I mean, I say at the time, I'm still like in the Masters Elo, and my lobby was
Hmm.
not great either. Like I had all other master players, and then the other team had two top 500 players, right? So it was also happened to do with the lobby itself. Do you think that part of the struggle that has to do with it is the fact that the matchmaking lobby itself? Because I feel like MNK is not so much of a problem in elos like Masters or Diamond, because they don't if you are good enough to play the game and you have MNKs and stuff like that, you're probably not going to be there that much more. But like, do you think it's a problem only at the high end, and like people should, it's not really as big of an issue because of it?
I think if nobody MNK'd on console, I wouldn't MNK on console. Like I wouldn't.
Right.
So, but there's so many people across all ranks that MNK that it's just like, why would you not at some point?
Right.
Especially it's not like as expensive as a PC or anything. And like I said, I actually thought it would be like PC 1-to-1, no aim. I was like, because I didn't know, or no aim assist. I mean, I didn't know anybody that actually MNK'd. I actually asked one of my friends, and they told me about JLP, who's a quick play warrior, and I had to message them and ask, hey, what like sensitivities and stuff do I use? Because I thought it would be 1-to-1. I was like, well, maybe I can get some practice in and get a PC sometime. But so what I really think it is though, it's if nobody MK'd on console, nobody else would get MNKs, and it would be fine across the ranks. But
Yeah, right, right. Um, Hopes is in chat, and he
yeah,
says
I know, I
if
saw.
nobody MNKs, then I would be rank 1 at all times. I think that's a funny statement in
I mean,
general.
hopes. I played Doomfist with an MNK, which is honestly worse than playing Doomfist with a controller, and it still finished higher than you.
Oh, okay, fighting words. All right. Veracity has a question in the chat. He says thoughts on Vinny. I don't know if,
Vinny?
yeah, I guess as a player, or I don't know if that's suggesting that he MKs
I
or anything, but
mean, he doesn't MNK, but
right.
Vinny's a cutie. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right, so here's my next question, and we're kind of wrapping this thing up, and we'll talk a little bit more about other stuff, but do you think that, and I feel like every Overwatch player has this competitive thing in them that wants them to do better in ranked and stuff like that. Do you regret not being able to participate in tournaments and stuff like that because you have the whole thing about MNKing and stuff like that? Do you think it takes away from you being able to get better in the community as that?
Honestly, so I've been in a few tournaments actually with controller and MNK. So the first draft tournament was MNK allowed. Okay. And Nutty DPS picked me up, and I remember Hopes got on our team for some reason, and he was like, "Wait, my Somersault's in instead of me? No, Somersault's a sub." And then he proceeded to throw our match against our first one. So I mean, for an impression, I guess that wasn't really a good first impression of a team environment tournament type thing.
Right, right.
And other than that, I used to be on Invictus with Dankist and Risky and Posey and Solus in that group.
Right.
Which was a thing back in the day, and I used controller for those games. But they told me I should hand cam because I had like the smallest flicks on people that were like 15 HP, and I killed like 3 people, and they're like, "Whoa, that's MNK," and it looked so controller, like it was so bad. I was like, wait, what?
Right.
So
right.
we got dubbed Zinvictus, and we were winning every single game, and then we got disqualified. So that was fun.
Right, right. And so you have participated in tournaments and stuff like that, and you understand. So did that team environment, like you called it, where you got paired with other people, did that sway you against being able to participate in other tournaments, or was it something that you were like, yeah, I just, after that experience, I don't feel like doing it anymore?
I mean, honestly, I only play on weekends. I don't play during the school week at all. I'm too focused on real life stuff. So for me to join a team, buy a new controller that's not broken like mine, right, for something that I'm not going to get money for and put all that time and effort into, just really isn't worth it. I'd rather just be streaming and having a good time with my friends.
Right.
So I feel like that's just a lot better for me anyway, because I mean, a lot of teams are so toxic to each other that it's not even worth it.
Right.
Like I know some aren't, but it just makes this tension with people that you're close with, and that's kind of not worth it at all.
Well, yeah, no, and I totally understand that, but like you mentioned about how the money and stuff like that, we are kind of seeing a difference in that in the like in console, where there are obviously the CGL has money involved, the Lame Sauce tournament has money involved. Yeah, exactly. So there are a few tournaments that are popping up with cash prizes. Does that incentivize you to rethink of that as coming back into that tournament type of setting, or do you still think, oh no, you know what, I'll just stick to streaming and I'll just stick to rank ladder?
I think honestly, I'm just gonna stick to streaming and rank ladder because I'm gonna leave over the summer and get money for a PC by working at a camp and stuff. So at that point, I'm gonna just move on from Xbox.
Right.
Wait, I need to address this quick. Somersault literally played today, and it's Thursday. That's because I had a state exam today, and we got out of school early.
Right. Well, it should be noted. It should be noted, right? Because I know he likes to be in the chat about it.
Okay, I know. I'm letting him know.
I know. So okay. So Hopes is in chat, right? Just so everybody's aware, who's not watching chat
I
while we're
think they're
doing it.
aware.
Yeah, right. But it like I sometimes watch Twitch without chat because I feel like it's
Mhm.
less. So if you're not watching chat, he's spamming how much he adores Calyko and how much
I
Calico's an
know. I
amazing
love my
player.
fanboys.
And he's saying how he would love to play with him on a team. And I we get it, Hopes, but I don't think it's gonna be possible in the near future. But we
Right.
appreciate you coming by and letting us know for sure that. Okay, so now we know obviously all of that stuff. What's and we talked about your streaming and stuff like that. You have your stream. I've seen some of your streaming. It's fun. It looks
Hmm.
cool. There's definitely a lot that you're working with. What's next for you in streaming? Because I feel like that's gonna be the thing for you that eventually will move you on, like as far as stuff like
Hmm.
that. So what's next for you?
So, well, I just recently got my sub button set up and my emote's on its way. Um, so I think next I'm just gonna try to. Well, I'm not gonna get a capture card. I thought about it long and hard, but I don't really have a computer to use the capture card with at all.
Right.
And and I'm gonna be gone this summer, so I'm gonna just wait till I get a PC and then get back into streaming again and try to be a little more interactive with chat.
Right, right, right. Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's definitely the way to go. When you do move on to PC, is that a straight move on, like not looking back into Xbox, or do you plan to come back eventually and do both and stuff like that?
See, I'm not really quite sure yet about that because I don't really know how good the PC will be, or if Overwatch on PC will be even more dead than it already is,
Right.
and things like that. But I really hope that I would just move to PC and kind of forget about console, even though I've had a really good time with a lot of great people on
Sure.
here. But sometimes you gotta just move on if you're gonna do it, you know?
Right. Right. Well, listen, that's all the questions I have personally. I know I think we addressed all the questions that came through chat. I know Veracity asked something earlier, but it was more towards like the Lucio thing, and he was talking about
Mhm.
the specific bindings and stuff like that, which in another stream we'll get to because obviously Calico isn't necessarily a Lucio player, and he doesn't have specific bindings for controllers, so we can't talk about that here. But Veracity, I know I hear your question, and later on we'll address it in another stream. For me, at least I'll show you what my settings are, so you can check them out if you're interested on that. If there's any other questions, make sure you ask them in chat and stuff like that. So I also want to remind everyone that this is a community podcast. So whenever I do pick somebody or anything like that, it's usually because they approached me or they let me know, hey, um, we I want to be on the show. I have something to say, stuff like that. So if you don't like the people who are on the show, right? Like like anybody who you feel is they don't deserve to be on there, blah blah, then just let me know and I'll have you on the show, right? That's how this works. It's a community podcast. We try to have as much people as we can. There's a long list of people, but if you ask me, I will get to you eventually. Calico was one of those people. He approached me earlier on, and I knew that when I chose him, I'd be like, okay, it's going to be people who are not going to like this pick, but I think it's going to be an interesting topic either way. And look, we have already filled almost an hour of content, so there we go. It's definitely been interesting. But tomorrow we're going to have somebody representing the chaotic organization. They're going to be talking about their controversy within CGL and their org controversy, and which is actually funny because they had some real life hacking happening on their social media, which they'll talk about, which is funny because we just had you who hacks not real life, but
Isn't me.
right. So it wasn't Calico. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. That's going to be happening around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, headrammer. It's a bad pun. I don't care. All right, so we'll have that happening tomorrow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all the questions we have. If there's no further questions in the chat, then I'll let you know. Calyko, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. I think that regardless of what people say, I think you're a nice person, right? That goes a long way, because even if you are an amazing Overwatch player, I think not being toxic and being the type of person that is an easy person to talk to and just friendly goes a long way. So I think that, regardless of what people may think of people who MNK, which I don't like going against, but but like regardless of that, I think you're a great person, and I think you do have a very good skill set, regardless of MNKing or controlling. So I think that's awesome. So I thank you for being on the show. Do you have anything to plug in, your social media or your Twitch and stuff like that, so people can catch you on?
So if you want to leave me a follow on my Twitch, it's Calyko _, spelled CALYKO _. Same for my Twitter. I don't really have any other social media.
Right. Perfect. Well, then there you go. You can catch him on Twitch. You can follow him on social media. And Calyko, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you had fun. I know that you had quite a few fans, especially Hopes in the chat, that like to talk about you. What can we do? Like, but yeah. So I thank you so much for being on the show, guys. Remember, tomorrow 6 p.m. we have another Off the Wall, and I'll be announcing other people next week. So take care, everybody. And we will catch you at another point. Hopes, I see your question. I'm not gonna ask it.
Wait, can I answer it?
Do you want to answer it? Go ahead if you want to answer.
I want to answer it. Hopes, I don't know. I don't think they've dropped yet.
Oh, all right. That was actually quite funny. But all right. So tomorrow we'll have another Off the Wall show. I might stream later on today if you guys want to check that out. Either or. I'll see you all later. I'll catch you another time. And again, thank you for Calyko. Guys, I'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. F it up. Oh, I'm in the groove. Back in the mix. Check yourself. Oh, feel that healing beat. All right, heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Heal up. Healing boost. Oh, I like the sound of that. Ooh, I'm a